So, how come the word phonics isn't spelled the way it sounds? Maybe we need to be hooked on Pahonix. Hey, welcome to you. I'm Robert. This is a video dedicated to responses to viewer comments, which are left on videos on my channel all over the place. I have decided to retire from the Know Your Troll business, so these are just going to be regular old viewer comments. I hope that you still find them entertaining. I will elaborate on the other thing down the road. Maybe I'll talk about it in a live stream here the next week or two if it comes up. You know, but it was a decision that I made, and one that I am confident is the right decision. And that said, let's check out some comments. Josh Randall says, "What kind of bass guitar is that?" You are referring to a video in which I used this bass. Actually, I think it was the Joyo, the Joyo little battery-powered practice bass combo amp thing that I did a video on a while back. Anyway, regardless, you asked which bass I was using, and which, you know, I suppose makes sense because the lighting in that video really sucked. But this is a BC Rich NJ Series Eagle bass, circa somewhere, the Neck Through series, by the way. Circa 1978 to 1982. It's the time frame that these were made. It's very, you know, this one does have a serial number, but these are very, very difficult basses to date. And all of them that are out there are, you know, unless it's a really, really early serial number, they're all pretty much guesstimated to be between 78 and 82. And the reason why is because they sold way better than BC Rich or anybody was expecting them to. They had to increase their production, and the serial numbers that they had set aside for 79, 80, 81, and so forth all had to get used up a lot earlier. So many of them, like, you know, a lot of the 1979 serial numbers, for example, had to get used in 1978. So it's very, very difficult to date these. You know, they didn't, you know, there was no record of what serials were produced, what serial numbers were produced what year. Regardless, you know, if you follow this channel, you know I'm a huge BC Rich fan. I love BC Rich guitars. You know, I'm really not much of a bass guy. I own a couple of basses, and really about, you know, I have to track a bass for recordings every now and again, and that's about the extent of what I do with my bass playing. But that said, I've always loved the way this thing sounds and plays, and everything about it. This thing I'm probably gonna be buried with. Cautionaryneck says, "When you get to the verse flying V, I just laugh out loud. No words, brother, none needed." You know, the truth is, I mean, you know, that was the top 8 worst production guitars ever video, and you know, the truth is that is my most popular video. That one's up to like 1.2 million views or something like that. I mean, I never thought that a guy like me would ever have a video that cracked 1 million views. But you know, that one still continues to be my most popular video, and that particular joke right there is why it was so popular. And I may not have a channel today if you know, if so many people didn't appreciate that joke. So but you know, it's meant to be entertaining. So, and I'm glad you were entertained by it. I've always been proud of you know, how that video has propelled really the rest of my channel, to be honest. Pink Torpedo says, "I really need you to reply to this one. Marshall won't help me, and I'm scared and very desperate for a proper answer. My whole life, all I wanted was a Marshall tube amp. All I could ever afford was Marshall solid state amps. I was pretty happy with them, believe it or not. My awesome wife finally bought me my first real Marshall tube amp, the Class 5. I big love it. It has a 16 ohm extension cab output. My Marshall carbon fiber 412 cab is 8 ohm. Will I damage my Class 5 if I connect it? And if so, is there a way to adapt the impedance? I'm desperate for an answer. My engineer in Sweetwater says, oh, hell yes, no problem, dude, it'll be fine. I'm not sure I believe that. Can you please help me with an answer and tell me if there is a way to adapt it? Multi-part question. And the basic answer is a good rule of thumb is to always match the impedance output on the guitar amp head with the impedance input on the guitar speaker cabinet. Always. If you're going out from a 16 ohm output on the head, it needs to go into a 16 ohm cabinet. If you're going out from an 8 ohm 8 ohm output on the amp head, it needs to go into an 8 ohm cab. Yes, there are exceptions, and technically, if you're going from a 16 ohm output into an 8 ohm cab, technically, you'd probably be okay if you're going from a 16 ohm output into an 8 ohm input. And the reason why is because if you think of impedance or ohms, if you will, that is current, is what that is. So if you think of the cable connecting the two as a water hose, the amount of water pressure coming out of the amp head and going into the cab. The cab that is going into is a wider resistance and will allow for a lower resistance coming out of the amp head, technically. That said, it gets really, really confusing because 16 ohms is less resistance than 8 ohms, and so the best advice I can give you: match them, match the impedance inputs and outputs always. I have stuck by that rule of thumb for years, and it's never failed me. Also, can your cab be wired? If it's a 16 ohm cab, the carbon fiber cabs, I'm not real sure how, you're talking about the Marshall MG carbon fiber, I'm assuming is what you're referring to. I'm not sure how those cabs are wired. They may, if it's wired, in my understanding anyway, I've only done this once or twice, but if it's wired in if it's wired parallel at 8 ohms, you can technically wire it in series and make it 16 ohms, in which case then your cab will work. But if it's 8 ohm, it's already wired in series. Honestly, I'm not sure how that would affect it if you switched it back to parallel. I assume that would make it 4 ohm, but I'm not sure. Good luck, man. I hope it all works out for you, and I hope you enjoy your new amp. Creep the Destroyer says, I've got one of these but stopped working one day. Replaced it with a Mark V. On a side note, the Mark V and my 6505 go awesome with the MF400 cab. Now I want to get it fixed. Gigged with it for 4 years before it died. This comment was left on the Marshall Mode 4 video from, I don't know when that was, 6 or 8 months ago, I guess now. And the Mode 4 heads themselves, metal guys in particular, some people seem to love them, some people seem to hate them. I happen to very much enjoy mine, otherwise I never would have bought it in the first place. I happen to very much enjoy mine, but like I said, not everybody does. One thing that a lot of people do seem to agree on is the cabs that they came out for the Mode 4 series are pretty awesome. There was 2 versions of them. There was the MF400, and I think the other one's called like the MF412 or something like that. I don't recall. Regardless, one of them came with vintage 30s, I think, and the other one came, I think, with Celestion K100s. And both of them are, because it's a great, big, tall, oversized cab, so it moves a little bit more air than a standard, Marshall 412 like I've got behind me. And metal guys in particular really, really seem to like those cabs. So if I'd love to have one. So if you can track one down, do it, grab it, and if you got one, keep it, hang on to it. Huh? Okay.
Hey y'all, watch this!
Welcome to this channel's video segment called Hey y'all, watch this! Because, well, I love guitar gear, I also happen to love watches, and this is a very, very short segment which I get to share part of my watch collection with you guys, as I know that I do have some viewers that also happen to have an appreciation for watches. And today's edition is one called the Heritor Crew. This is actually my latest addition to my collection. This is really more of a dress watch than anything. It's kind of an olive-colored face on it. Automatic, of course. I've done this a few times now. You guys know that I really, really don't like quartz movements, which this one is not. This is a beautiful, beautiful watch, and I have enjoyed it very much thus far. Lava Core Gaming says, for rock and metal, what amp do you suggest? I have a Vox Pathfinder 10, and it's good, but I'm getting better, and the distortion isn't high enough. Even when I crank the gain, no modeling amps, because I'm sick and tired of effects I never use. Lava Core Gaming, thank you very much for commenting. I will, this thread kind of went on to went on to a number of things, that we talked about. One thing that you said, somebody actually suggested save up another $100 or so and get yourself a Boss Katana, and that may or may, based on what you said, it may or may not be what you're after. Boss Katana is technically a modeling amp, I guess, but it really doesn't model anything specific. It's like like as far as like other amps and stuff go, other than maybe some of Boss's own amps. But generally, they just they like model tones, like a basic crunch tone or whatever. Anyway, they're really, really versatile amps, and a lot of people like them. But at the very minimum, they are at least very, very similar to a modeling amp. It may not be what you want. In the event that I'm correct about that, what's the best amp for metal? That's a really, really broad question. And really the best advice I can give you, check out some demos, go down to your local guitar shop, plug into a few of them, see what you like, see what sounds good to your ear. Who cares what I think? As long as it sounds good to you, that's the most important thing. One thing that you did say, though, in that thread, somebody mentioned, again, when they mentioned the Boss Katana, you said, you said something to the effect of you didn't think that you were good enough to own a 50-watt amp. And I disagree completely. And here is why. Even if it's 50 watts, no, you may not need it. You may not need all that volume or anything like that. That's okay. Most of my amps, and as you see, I've got plenty. I'd never crank any of them. I use the amount of power that I need out of all of them. But if you have it in your mind that a 50-watt amp is a much nicer amp than what you think you should be playing through, then you should be getting a 50-watt amp. Again, the wattage is the tone of an amp is not about the wattage. But in your mind, if you think that it is, that's okay. And I would encourage you to get it because great gear inspires us to play more. Never, in my life have I ever looked forward to plugging into an amp that I hate. Never. But I've always looked forward into plugging into an amp that I love. Find one that you really like the sound of, regardless of how many watts it is. Find one that you really like the sound of and buy it. It's only going to make you a better guitar player and make you enjoy playing guitar more. This comment was left on the 10 worst guitar amps ever video from Martin Roch. Says Marshall Haste 40 combo. I used this amp briefly in a student band project my guitar teacher put together when I was 13, and I hated that sound. It had so little gain you couldn't get anything more than 70s blues rock crunch, which sucked because we played modern songs like Metallica or Sum 41, and the overall sound was just so muddy and overloaded with low mids it never cut through the band. That top 10 worst guitar amps ever video, that's probably my second most popular video. I'll tell you, it's been 4 or 5 years since I made that video now, but and I haven't watched it in a long time either. I remember most of it, but I remember beating up on Marshall in a couple places in that, and I don't like to do that because I love Marshalls. I love Marshall amps. I'm a Marshall guy. I got one sitting right behind me, and another one right here next to me. I love Marshalls. Maybe I didn't put the Haze, the Haze amps on there because I already had the MA series and maybe one other one, I don't remember, but the Haste 40 absolutely does deserve a spot on that list. I am not a fan. I remember when they first came out, and they had, they weren't the most reliable amps in the world. I remember we had a lot of them returned. They weren't the most reliable amps. They didn't sound all that great. The onboard effects were, and the most annoying thing in the world, the foot switch. When there was a delay of some kind, like a signal delay. When you would turn on the effects, whichever effect you had selected, or even when you switch channels, it would not click over in real time. It would, it took an extra second or two, for the whatever it was you just turned on or off to turn on or off, and it was annoying. And it seemed to be on every single unit that we got in, and huge flaw. And fortunately, Marshall just decided to just throw in the towel and call it a day with that amp and not try to improve on it. This comment was left on the Wong's Mini 5 video that I did recently. From Fatboy Finds Fitness, says, how much did you get paid to say this shitty brand was good? I can't trust any of you, LOL. Well, the truth is, Wong's were kind enough to send me the amp, and that was the end of it. They didn't pay me a dime on top of that. They didn't tell me anything to say. They didn't, or any of that stuff. Matter of fact, I was very upfront with them and told them that my opinions are my opinions, but I'm happy to demo the amp for them, which I did. And I happen to very, very much enjoy it. So much so that I've used that amp in 2 or 3 other videos already since then. So, if I didn't like it, I wouldn't keep using it in other videos. This comment was left on the video that I did a while back on the most affordable tube guitar amps. This one's from Stuart Tompkinson. Says, I checked out most of these on the internet, and they are not cheap ever since you doing this or going through the roof. The Egnator, it's like $1,500. Wow. I haven't looked. I'm gonna take your word for it though. Because you're not the first one that said that to me. Because that video is about a year old or so, give or take, maybe a little more than that now. And a number of people have said that what these amps aren't cheap. These are all since you put this video up, they're all going through the roof. And but let's be realistic. Now, I highly doubt that it was because some of these things I'm sure are increasing in value on the used market. Like the Egnator Tourmaster 4100 is the one that I mentioned in that video, and I assume the one that you are referring to. Here's the thing: inventory has been really low on a lot of things, and with tube amps, especially, also combined with the inflation going on with just about everything, not just in our industry, but everywhere in the world right now. It makes sense that some of the values of some used tube amps would have also increased. Why? Because the demand has increased and the supply has decreased. So basic economics 101. So as much as I would love to believe that my video had everything to do with it, and my video has wielded the power of Josh Scott and drives the prices up on everything, realistically, I think the economy had a lot more to do with it than I did. Which it could also be a good thing, which means once the supply and the demand things level back out a little bit, once the world returns back to something a little bit closer to resembling normal, hopefully those values will start coming back down again. Alejandro Barreras says, hi Robert, would you say the Sustainiac is worth the regular change of batteries if I play a lot and I would only have this guitar? You are referring to the Schecter Sun Valley Super Shredder, a guitar that I demoed 2 or 3 years ago now. It's been a while. Anyway, that you can buy that guitar either with a Sustainiac in the neck position or without it. The version that I demoed did have the Sustainiac, and my opinion, yeah, I would, if I had my choice between the two, I would absolutely get the Sustainiac version. Just because Sustainiacs are a lot of fun. You don't see them on every guitar, and and they just got a really, really cool sound to them. I would not let frequent battery changes scare you away from those. Buy yourself some rechargeable batteries or buy them in bulk off Amazon or there's any number of places you can do that. I don't let that deter you from getting, from playing a guitar with Sustainiac. They're a lot of fun. I think you'd enjoy it, but at the same time, only you can answer that question. So go try out a couple and see what you think. Alex Z says, tell me what kind of song is playing at the beginning of the video. It's a rock song, dude. So that's it. That was the last question. If you have a question that you want answered, drop it down in the comments section of this video or any other video, and cross your fingers. Maybe I'll get to it here in the next one of these. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Links down in the description if you need them. Comment down in the comment section if you want to. Thank you so much for watching. Adios. We'll see you in the next video.